Hi, and welcome again to another episode of The Consistency Queen. My name is Elsa Morgan, coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. We have just spent Easter with my family, and I have to tell you, it was one of the most reflective times that I've had in quite a number of years, because having returned to Melbourne now has allowed me to really get a handle on how far I've come, how far my family has come, and where we're going. And for me, I want to share this episode with you because I know that there are people out there, including yourself, that are probably wondering when it is all going to happen for you, when will be the moment, when will be the time that it's all going to unveil as you see it in your mind. And I just want to share snippets of my journey in the hope that it provides you some inspiration with where you're at right now and where you want to go, because truly I don't think I foresaw exactly where I am today when I experienced certain events in my life. And I have to tell you that there are some key things that I do see now that I want to share with you, because if I can bring awareness about these particular things and what I recognized back then, but I couldn't quite understand why, then maybe, just maybe, it might keep you in the game a little bit longer. So to take you back to the very beginning, I have to share with you a little bit of my backstory. And there are quite a number of new people that have come into my world, including maybe yourself. And so this might be a great opportunity to introduce myself. So Elsa Morgan. I was actually born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1973. So I'm 50 years of age. And I don't feel 50, but I'm quite aware about what it means being this age. I feel incredibly privileged and lucky and fortunate, because I know that there are many people out there that I certainly know that weren't so lucky to achieve this incredible milestone. So for me, I don't take that for granted. I was born into poverty. I had 2 dining chairs as my bed for the first 18 months of my life. Literally, my parents, my brother and myself, we shared one big room, and there was my brother's bed, my parents' bed, and there were my 2 dining chairs tucked away in the corner. One side was the wall, the other side was my parents' bed, so I didn't fall over, and that was our life. And I'm so grateful that my parents fought for both my brother and myself, because it was that fighting spirit that kind of sparked curiosity in my father to want to migrate to Australia. He saw a post, literally just a sheet of paper posted on a post saying that they were looking for immigrants or people to migrate to Australia and Canada. And him and his best friend would walk to their, they work 12-hour shifts in a factory, and they would walk towards work, kind of visualizing what that would be like. And they would do this like day after day after day. And then one day, my father just said, "Hey, why are we just kidding ourselves? Why don't we just do this?" And I don't think his best friend quite took him seriously, but then he realized that he was serious, and they both decided to do it and went through the process. My father and my mother literally sold everything. And they both families got approved and migrated to Australia. We had one suitcase with us, and my father had $50 in his pocket back in 1975, and I was 18 months old then. The miraculous thing is that right before we migrated, I almost died. I literally swallowed my tongue, and thankfully a nurse who was a neighbor across the road came and jammed her finger into my mouth and literally pulled it out and saved my life. So when my parents told me that story, I knew that I was destined for more, because there are certain instances like that have occurred in my life that have shown me that I am meant to be here to do big things and to inspire and impact people. And I've accepted that assignment. I accept that I'm here because I have a big why, a big purpose, and this is why I'm creating this video, because it is the start of the new chapter. So having been brought up in a strict household. And again, I'm thankful for my parents that did happen, because I've always had this risk taker attitude. I've always chased things. I've been driven. I've been motivated. I was school house captain in sports and also class captain. So I've always was an achiever. I was an A and B plus student, and I never ever shied away from a challenge. So that was me throughout my entire, childhood and adulthood. And whilst I did great things, and I competed in sports and was captain, etc. There were certain things that happened in my childhood very early on that severely impacted my programming, and I wasn't aware of that happening very much into my late 40s. Through a mentor, which I'll talk about, later on. But I have to tell you that looking back, I can see how my childhood programming very much directed the decisions that I made and led me to this point. But I would never ever change that, because I love where I am right now. I love my family, I love my life, and I love the fact that I get to talk to you and share with you some insights in the hope that it inspires you and it helps you to just, believe that you are exactly where you're meant to be, and even just take one step towards creating the life that you want. So throughout my 20s, I literally, I could say, bumped around in jobs. I didn't know what I wanted, even though I dropped out of university. I was doing really well, but then I just decided it was not for me. I studied marketing and economics as a major, and after doing 12 months in the marketing department of a global pharmaceutical company, and then going back into my final year, and I think I only had 6 subjects left, I really wasn't excited about the trajectory of where that qualification was taking me. And so I decided to get into the workforce and wanted to earn some money. I was really excited about that prospect. But of course, back then when I was in university, the idea was that you passed high school, you get into university, and you get a good job, you get married, get a mortgage, buy a house, and live happily ever after. However, I think on a subconscious level knew that was never ever going to be me, in terms of working for the man and being in the whole 9 to 5, because it just didn't sit well with me. I just got to a point where I just didn't want to play the game that was required at a corporate level to keep moving up. Having said that, I had a very, very successful sales career. In fact, I generated over $100 million worth of contracts, particularly in the back end of my 20s and into my mid 30s. Was highly successful and did very, very well for myself. And so with that also, towards in my mid-30s, I also held a very senior position in a global logistics company where I would travel to Singapore and report at regional level. So I'd been there and done that, and I still was not inspired to want to stay in that corporate level. So I knew on a subconscious level that I was meant for more. I also didn't have a very good track record in relationships. I've been divorced, and really didn't know what I wanted until I found myself divorced in my mid-30s and had to file for bankruptcy. And I knew at that time that I really had to make some different choices and some significant changes. And this is where I believe, reflecting back now, my real transformation began. And whilst I had a significant transformation in 2021 that's led me to today, I believe the real transformation started back when I had to file for bankruptcy. And that wasn't an easy decision to make. I was so ashamed. In fact, I didn't tell anybody about it. I think only 2 people outside of my family knew the truth about my financial situation, simply because I was so ashamed of who I was and how, what I ended up being, because filing for bankruptcy when I did was not something that you would be proud of, even though now people openly talk about bankruptcy and losing everything as part of their transformation. Back then, I didn't know how significant that was until I started to share that, and people came forward and said that they were inspired by my story. So when I filed for bankruptcy, it was literally a process of me deciding whether I had to carry all of my debt, all of my poor decision making. I also was a victim of a property Ponzi scheme after a very good friend who I trusted recommended that I invest in this property scheme, and it ended up being a fraud. And so I lost all my money that would have definitely helped me to not file for bankruptcy, and then coupled with that, being left with all the debts from my ex as well, I had to make the decision of filing for bankruptcy simply because I believe that was the hardest route of the two, and then having to make some changes in my behavior, in my patterns, and in the way that I made choices, and particularly who I trusted and who I aligned myself with. So it was during that time that I started doing some long distance running and really spent a lot of time with myself. I met some very positive people who also ran, and I think hanging around with them and being around them really helped me, because I started, having a more positive mindset and a more, a mindset that was geared towards doing good things, because these people were all good people, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity of having connected with these people whilst I was training for my marathons and half marathons. I will never ever forget those people. They played such a huge part in my transformation. And so out of that, I'd run several marathons, half marathons, really started to understand what it is that I wanted, but more importantly, I understood how strong I was, because I thought, God, if I could run marathons and train my body to do something that it really wasn't naturally inclined to do, I can do anything. And so I was really proud of myself, but even still, during that time, I got really good with managing my money paycheck to paycheck, because of course, a percentage of that had to go to the state trustee, and I really had to manage my money at the same time, keeping it a secret from everybody because I was so ashamed. And it wasn't until I met this incredible person who ended up being my husband, online, and it was on our second date that I confided to him and told him that I was bankrupt, and he probably would never want to see me again after I told him that. But he said to me, so what? At the end of the day, it doesn't define you. This is just a chapter and moment in time. And so when he gave me that perspective and he accepted me at my lowest point, so to speak, I realized that this is something that not only could I move through and do something with, but also that despite all of that, I could still attract good things into my life. And so that's when I knew that I'd found my soulmate, because this is someone who didn't judge me when I was at my highest. In fact, he met me when I was actually my lowest, and still accepted me and loved me and was prepared to, get to know me despite all of that. So he saw past that. And this is when I knew that this was something different and special. And so we decided to give our relationship a go, and he relocated back to Melbourne because my father had cancer. And it wasn't until, we ended up getting married and we had our first child that I said to him that I really wanted to stay at home. Whilst my career was great, and we were both earning over six figures and we were doing well, we didn't have, I believe, a time freedom kind of life. We were working 60 to 70 hours a week, and us having our first child, I just thought that it was just not fair on our son for him just to get the leftovers. For him to get just the leftover of me Monday to Friday, and me being tired, and I had a very demanding role, and at one time had a CEO that would call me at all hours of the night, like 8 a.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m, whilst we were having dinner, and just giving me work. And I really had to make the decision about how else could I produce the same sort of income whilst spending more time with our son, because he was our legacy and he deserved the best from us. And so little did I know, but in a very accidental way, I discovered the online space, and it's really through finding out from a friend that, she was using a product and I wanted to lose the last bit of my weight, that I discovered that, people could make money from product sales. And I saw that people were traveling and all of that. So I entered the world into the online space, and by the way of network marketing. And I'm so grateful, because honestly, network marketing, if anything, taught me the very basics of the basic building blocks in building a business. And there are so many people out there that are playing big right now that started their entire career in network marketing arena, like Ed Milet and Patrick Beck-David, just to name a couple, who started their network marketing career and now become very big names. And so for myself, I look at my time in network marketing as full of gratitude, because it taught me about community, it taught me about personal development, it taught me about how to build a business in terms of the fundamentals of how to build a business. And so for the first 3 years, I actually did it all wrong, because I had a very successful sales career that I thought that was the way that I was meant to do it. And, literally just prospect and close and make it all about me. But really, when you're building for yourself, and especially when you're building via social media, it's really about them, meaning the people that you're serving. And I had to really learn how to take myself out of the equation and really show up for my audience. And that was a huge learning curve and transformation that took there. So despite me doing it all wrong, quote unquote, for the first 3 years, I still managed to retire myself out in 2018, and I have been home ever since. Like, I've been building, I now am in the coaching arena, and I've launched my own coaching business and women's empowerment company. But back then, I even though I started in the online space through network marketing, and I did it all wrong, I still managed to retire myself out. So there's a key nugget right there for those of you out there who have aspirations of retiring yourself out and being able to stay home, is that you can still do it all wrong, so to speak, and still make money and still be able to achieve goals. Where I see some people go wrong is that they get ready to get ready and get ready to get ready before they take action, losing opportunities and times where they can just do it and make mistakes and fail forward. Because honestly, me embracing the whole fail forward, whole philosophy of failing forward is actually what has fast-tracked me to the results that I have now. And so I just want to really emphasize that part of my journey, because I was not doing it right. There wasn't a system or something that I adopted up until then that made it work for me. There were really spammy posts and messages and whatnot that happened, and yet I still managed to achieve sales and income out of that messy activity to retire myself out. And so I just need you to understand that still holds true even till today. And then gearing, even though I was home, I kept hitting an income limit. I couldn't get past beyond a certain level, and I didn't know it then, but what was happening is I kept hitting an upper limit, and my limiting beliefs and all my programming was coming up, and I would just capitulate. I'd self-sabotage. I'd have arguments with people, including my husband. I'd, really was tough on myself, and, it was a mess until I ended up seeing somebody on my social feed who I'd been connected with for some time, and she started saying things that resonated with me, and I continued following her. Meanwhile, some events happened, like towards the back end of 2019. I found myself in a situation where I had to sell my car, my BMW, to get myself to an event, which I really needed to go to, and I won't go into the reason why, but I really needed to be there in Las Vegas. And we had maxed out our cards. My husband had been going through some treatment, and because of my home business, there were certain things that led to my card being maxed out. Again, I won't go into it, but it was what it was. And so I made the decision to sell my car because I felt that my legacy, my vision, and what I saw in my mind and felt in my heart was way too important to just not go. And so I sold my car, got myself to Las Vegas, paid off some debt, and then only had $134 for the children's Christmas, and I really, really took that hard, because I thought to myself, never again will I see myself in this situation. Never again will I be in a situation where we cannot have Christmas the way that we saw it in our mind, where we would have time and financial freedom, and never again will we be in this spot. And so I traveled to Las Vegas with that mindset, and there were some things that happened in Las Vegas that further solidified the reason why I had to make that decision. So coming back to Australia, I came back with that mindset, and I decided that I was going to go all in onto my vision and change my life forever. And I have. Because from that moment, I no longer tolerated my own BS and got myself out of the way and just became 100% coachable. I decided to listen to my mentors, which included the people like John Assaraf, Grant Cardone, just to name a couple, that I opted into their programs and really got to work. And it wasn't until later that year where I was at an event virtually, and we went through a meditation process. And then I realized through that meditation activity that there was this one moment in time in my childhood that was ruling my train of thought, was making the decisions when things weren't going my way. And I wanted to do more of a deep dive in that. And so then again, I started doing more of mindset work, programming work. I did more of the John Assaraf programming in terms of the inner sizes, and then circled back. This mentor that I'd seen over a year ago in my feed popped up again, and she was talking about specifically some things around being triggered, having meltdowns, having arguments with people, and always playing the victim. And it 100% spoke to me. It spoke to me to the point that I just thought she was directing that Facebook Live to me. And herein lies the biggest transformation of all, because it was out of seeing that live and then opting into her programs that I then started to understand how my past programming had pretty much dictated my entire life, and the decisions that I'd made and the conversations that I had and the friendships that I'd entertained up until that point were largely affected by the programming that I held inside. And because of that, whilst I'd started to see some success, like by then in mid 2021, I had launched my women's empowerment company. I launched my company and then launched my coaching programs, and very quickly scaled up to over 6 figures. And now we're scaling to 7 figures per year. We've generated over $1 million since then, and heading, we've got a framework to take us to, multiple 7 figures as a company. But back then, I was concerned that I was going to hit that lid again and then slide back down. So I opted into this program, committing to doing all the work, and it changed my life forever. Because out of that, I really started to understand the whole energetics of managing yourself, how you're showing up, what you think about, what you bring about, what you give focus to, who you hang around with, and more importantly, how your past programming pretty much dictates who you are today. And unless you make peace with your past and you really understand why you think the way you think, why you react versus respond, why you're judgmental, why you believe that certain things should be a particular way versus just holding space and, accepting people for who they are, regardless, and just learning to love people. I'm a completely different person. So from that moment, did a deep dive, went all in and started to doing the work, and I've just accelerated, had, 6-figure month, like I said, achieved over $1 million, now have a multiple 7-figure property portfolio, and our business is scaling to 7 figures per year, and being where we are right now, where we have this global women's empowerment company, and we offer coaching programs, book collaborations. The 3 that we have launched have all gone to bestseller, and combined all 3 to over 51 number 1 categories, and also now going into events where we'll be having our first global event later this year. I would never ever have predicted this, saw this, or understood that this was the life for me. And why I share this with you is because once upon a time I was where you are right now. And I want you to believe when I tell you that where you are today is not your end story. That it is just you being in action. So number one, just be in action. Just take action every day. And even though it may not be perfect action, you're going to learn the perfect action or getting better action in time. But if you just take action, that is more than enough, because once upon a time I just took messy action and I was able to retail myself out. And that is totally available and possible for you. But just by taking messy action, taking any action is better than no action. The other thing that I want to share with you looking back in my journey is that who you surround yourself with, what you listen to every day, and what you give energy to and focus to every day, 100% impacts who you become and the results that you generate. I am very, very, very careful and particular about who I surround myself with. I'm very careful about what I give focus to. If I feel in any way there's a shift in my energy, I pay attention to why that's happening. And I certainly don't put myself in any situation that would potentially compromise my values, or surround myself with people that are not in alignment with where I want to go, because my mission and my vision is far too important and far too great. Like, we're on a mission now to impact over 1 million women, and part of that mission is about creating opportunities for young girls in third world countries who don't have access to education, as well as providing opportunities for women in third world countries to give them like a business boost fund where they can then launch and scale their own businesses. So my mission to achieve that is far too great than surrounding myself with people that could potentially distract me or derail me from that. And I'm very, very serious about that. Number 3, it's 100% your responsibility, the results that you achieve. You can't blame anyone else. You've got to take responsibility for where you are. And regardless of, external conditions like the presidency, economic conditions, whether there's changes in technology, whether Facebook crashes or anything to that effect, there are always ways to build your business if you really want to. And being able to be resourceful, being able to pivot, being able to just leverage other networks, etc., are so important as being a successful entrepreneur and a business owner, that you can still lose all of that and start again if you really want to. So no external conditions or external things will accelerate you more than the work that you do internally. And so you need to take ownership of that. And if you are in any way, shape or form affected energetically or focus wise, then you need to pay attention to why that is. And leads me to number 4, which is, if you really want to accelerate your income, your wealth, your legacy, if you want to live life on your terms, if you want to create a life where you get to travel and take your kids and give them a life and give yourself a life and spoil yourself and all of those things, then nothing will accelerate you more than understanding who you really are. When you understand who you really are in terms of the way that you think, why you get affected, why you get triggered, why certain things don't sit well with you, and all of these things, when you start understanding you and start unpacking all of that and making peace with that and letting go of the need for certain things to be a particular way and releasing that and just being in the now, like operating in the now and working with what you have and just going out there and putting out content that's going to be meaningful and impactful and change the world, that's going to accelerate you 1,000% more than anything new that you learn strategically. Like, strategy is like, I'd say at best 5% of your entire journey, and 95% of your journey is you. And the last thing that I really want to impart and this is why I talk about what I do in terms of my coaching and in terms about how I operate. Nothing will fast track you more outside of your internal work. So working on yourself is the fastest, and then the next thing out of that is accessing a blueprint that is proven, meaning investing in a mentor or a coach who's going to be able to help you by sharing their blueprint and what they did to achieve the results that they have achieved. And so then that way you can implement that and mirror, or if not better, their results. Rather than you reinventing the wheel, rather than you relying on free and learning little bits here, little bits there, and trying to pack them together, that's not going to work. What's going to work for you is tell me what works, I'm going to implement, and I'm going to achieve the results and then do better. That's how I've been operating since around 2020 and now, and my income has gone like that, literally a trajectory like this. And prior to that, I had this idea up until about 2018 that I knew it all, and of course my income didn't go very far beyond a certain point. And between 2018 and 2020 it started to increase, but I still had a lot to do internally. And it wasn't until I really understood how to work on myself, combined with strategy that actually does work out in the marketplace, current practices, that is nothing even come close. Like you working on yourself and then accessing a blueprint that works, those two will absolutely skyrocket your results. And of course I teach all of this and I share all of this with my coaching clients because I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I certainly don't want people to waste my time. That's why I'm serious about working with women over 40 who are building businesses or who are in their professional career that want to change their life and change their circumstances and create a legacy, create wealth, go out and live life on their terms, and create generational wealth, because that is my mission and this is how I've been able to achieve it. And so I hope this special podcast has helped you to understand why it's so important for you to really understand and take stock to where you are right now, because how you move next will decide the rest of your year, because where you are right now is exactly where you're meant to be. And what you do with this information after you listen to this podcast, you can either just ignore it and just laugh it off and just continue on as is, or you can take elements of this, implement it, and I can guarantee you'll create shifts. And of course, if you would like to have a conversation with me, I offer free coaching sessions. You can go to hangwiththequeen.com and book yourself in, and we can strategize on one thing that's holding you back in your business. I'm happy to help you. But also know that I relied on free to a certain point, and then I invest in myself. And I've invested like multiple six figures just about every single year since 2021, and even this year. And know that you don't have to do that every single year. Strategically, you need to be, very careful about who you invest with, and always make sure that they're proven results and a proven blueprint. But also understand that knowing, you trying to figure it out yourself is the slow boat to China. Like it is literally the slow boat to results. And if you want that, if you just want to figure it out because you have a money mindset thing, then that's a whole new podcast altogether. But I will tell you that it's painful, and you will constantly be comparing and giving yourself an out. But if you really want to fast track yourself in 2024, it is a year that is exceptional for people building businesses because of the opportunities that are coming. Just know that now is the time that you need to take action. So if this resonates, please hit me a like, hit me a follow, drop me a comment and let me know what best resonates with you. But until then, I look forward to seeing you in my next episode. And thank you so much for being a part of my world. Take care.